if you've got chronic pain and nobody tells you that it's possible to live well alongside your pain, then you'll probably spend a lot of your time trying to reduce your pain with pills, with treatments, whatever. So if you don't know, you don't look for it. But then you've got to think about what's important to you. So is this thing that I want to do or that somebody's suggesting, does it matter? Because if it doesn't matter, who cares? You know, if I don't think it's going to mean anything to me, I won't bother.
All right, so I am here today with Bronnie Lennox Thompson, and I'm gonna intro you. I got that. So you're the academic coordinator in the LEAST postgrad program in the pain and pain management at the University of Otago in New Zealand. You initially trained as an occupational therapist, graduating in 1984, and later completed your MSc with first-class honor in psychology in 1999 at Canterbury University. In 2015, you were awarded your PhD from the Department of Health Science at the University of Canterbury, Christchurch in New Zealand. You worked in pain management for most of your clinical career with your primary focus on pain management at work. You practice in interdisciplinary pain management programs, private practices, cases management, both for private organization and ACC, primary prevention and secondary prevention since 2002, teaching postgraduate paper in pain and pain management at the Otago University. I like that you mentioned that your main interest areas include pain and anxiety, motivation for self-management, resilience, and daily coping choices. And you can find more information on healthskills.wordpress.com, and I will share the link below. The effects of your occupational therapy training has never fully left you in pain management. Occupational therapy has always targeted function or the ability to fulfill life roles despite limitation. In the same way, your goal for pain management are to help people reduce the functional impact of pain and improve their engagement in living life to the full. So thank you for thank you so much for being with me today. Bronnie, how are you doing?
Good, and it's an absolute pleasure to be able to talk with you and share something about me and my world.
Thank you. I'm gonna dive right in the question. I got 4 for you. The first one is something you wrote about extensively lately, which was motivating people to make a change. And I would love for you to tell me more about that, or to tell me what was the core of that for you.
Yeah. So people get stuck in the way that they're responding to life, and to make a change, we need to first of all know that we've got some options, and then we've got to value the possibilities and thing that we want to do, and then we need to be confident that we can do it. So if you don't know that you've got options, so if you've got chronic pain and nobody tells you that it's possible to live well alongside your pain, then you'll probably spend a lot of your time trying to reduce your pain with pills, with treatments, whatever. So if you don't know, you don't look for it. But then you've got to think about what's important to you. So is this thing that I want to do or that somebody's suggesting, does it matter? Because if it doesn't matter, who cares? You know, if I don't think it's going to mean anything to me, I won't bother. So to do that, we need to help the person understand what matters in their life and how this change that we want to introduce might help them achieve what matters in their life. And it's better to do it in a positive way than say, if you don't do this, this terrible thing will happen. And then the third thing is that confidence that I can actually do it. And that's sometimes about enhancing somebody's resources so that they know that they've got the tools to do what they need to do. Sometimes it's about reminding them that they've been successful in other parts of their life. They've probably encountered problems before and they've found a way through it. And we might also suggest that they look at somebody else who's doing what they're doing and show that it's possible. So that's some of the ways that I look at how we can enhance that sort of motivation to make a change. Of course, it also helps if it's interesting and it's relevant.
I love that. It's easy for a professional to get stuck in our head and forget a little bit actually about the patient or the client. So looking back at what you just said, I can see how you put a step further into, I really want to put myself in your position to see what you're missing. And it's not so much what I know, it might be something I'm missing too. So I really like that.
It's the ultimate in person-centered care. If we think that everybody coming to see us, let's think about pain. If we think that everybody coming to see us is seeing us because they want their pain gone, then we're going to give that treatment. But if we think that sometimes people are coming to see us, yes, they've got pain, but it's really the fact that they can't sleep that's bothering them, and we don't address that, then we're not doing what the person needs. Or if the person's confidence to go to work is what they're most worried about, and we don't look at that, what's the point? Especially that we know that a lot of pain can't, especially chronic pain, won't change much, if at all. And that's humbling, because we want to think that we can do the right thing and we can fix stuff.
Actually, that's perfect, because that leads into my second question. From what I've read online, I'm following different people, different groups, but there's people I'm drawn to. You're one of them, because you are saying things that some people actually are not saying, and I'm not sure why. But my next question is about that. So a subject you talk about in quite a while actually is, and it doesn't get enough attention, is how we live with pain as opposed to how we fix pain. Some professional will say, like, well, you have chronic pain, so let's get rid of it. And I think it's a tricky way to frame it. So would you kind of share your personal and professional view on that?
So we've got to admit that when we look at what we can do for people with chronic pain, treatments to reduce pain are pitiful. So if we think about exercise, which is really popular, the effect size of exercise on pain is actually really small. And the same for exercise and disability, so functional limitations. We actually don't do a very good job. Medications for pain are even more dismal. Cognitive behavioural therapy for pain doesn't change pain intensity very much. And yet we have this entire industry desperately trying to fix the problem when our research says actually that's not a thing. So what we are doing is bringing ourselves as clinicians to think that we've got an answer that nobody else has found out about. So aren't we special? But what we're doing for people who have pain is we're taking them down this pathway that is ultimately going to end up in disappointment and disillusionment. And that's unfair, because I've worked most of my career with that group of people. And what they tell me is that they get this moment of hope. Somebody might have the answer. And they try really hard to do what they're being asked to do, and then they crash because it didn't work. And they go through that roller coaster of, hope, and then despair. Hope and then despair. And the worst thing is that when the treatment doesn't fail, often it's not the person treating them says, well, actually, we chose the wrong treatment. Instead, they feel like, people with pain feel like they're being blamed because they didn't respond, or they haven't done it right, or so all of those things. So we're actually setting people up for failure and disappointment. And that adds to the stigma that people are already living with when they've got pain, because it's an invisible problem. Nobody can see that you're sore. And so people feel stigmatized already, as if, I'm just making it up, or I'm just lazy, or I really don't want to do this stuff. And then you add, and by the way, you've failed treatment. We even have things like failed low back pain syndrome, failed back surgery. Well, who's failed? Was it the person? Or was it the clinician saying surgery is going to be the thing? So my first stance is to recognise for us as clinicians that the lack of effectiveness of our treatments is something we need to acknowledge. We don't like doing that, but we have to get real. That's what happens. And then we need to say, and so if we've got this person who may not respond to anything, when do we have the conversation about the fact that maybe your pain won't go? And that's one I don't know, because we don't have research that tells us when should you tell people your pain's not going to disappear? And there's very little research into this area, even in how do you tell somebody your pain's going to hang around. And the things that clinicians have told me is that they're scared. They don't want the person with pain to lose hope. Fair enough. But I've looked through the qualitative research, and time again, people with chronic pain say, when somebody said, I had chronic pain, this is what I've got, it kind of drew a line under all my efforts to find the cure. And what that meant was that I had some energy to invest in living life as it is now. So it's not removing hope, although everybody hates the fact. Who would like to know that you're going to have to live with pain? But then who would like to know that you've got osteoarthritis and the only treatment we've got for that is to remove a joint? No, nobody wants to know that. So I think we have to do some research in the area. We have to understand from people with pain what would be the best way and the best time to help them come to terms with the possibility that pain's going to hang around or it's going to be there forever. And as clinicians, we have to get a little bit more humble about what we can actually offer.
Yeah, I really like that. And it's very well said. And it's true that very few people are comfortable talking about it, that I've found. And very few people just even talk about it. Like you, one of the person, I think John Quintner mentioned also something about that in one of his article, and I was like, oh wow, wait, there's no hope. And that was my first rationale. I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing with them then? I should just run away and do another job. But the truth, I think, speaks loud enough and needs to be told, even if it's uncomfortable. So at least that's how I look at it. And I've come to appreciate your talks online on that. I've really appreciated the honesty on that, the humility that we could all benefit from with that. So,
I mean, we all like to succeed.
Yes.
And we've all got, when we train, we don't train to fail.
No, yeah.
Training that we got and all the reading that we do are all things that prime us to say, well, I've got the answer. And I think we need to sort of know that saying that we don't have good treatments doesn't mean we can do nothing. It just means that probably there's no single answer for so we can't apply the same solution to everybody. What I think it gives us is the freedom as clinicians to say, I wonder what will work for this person. What sorts of steps can we offer? Because it's probably going to be a combination of things that works for this person. And that gives us a whole lot more freedom because we can ask the person to come and collaborate with us and say, what would fit into your life? How could we be creative about what works? Can we try it? Let's see. So instead of being a clinician who does things to people, we become a collaborator that works alongside the person. And we're on a journey together and we're seeing through a series of experiments what helps and what doesn't. And that means that we get to have a different role, and that it puts a lot more of the power back into the hands of the person with pain. It's also pretty scary as a clinician and as a person with pain because we don't know whether our treatments are going to do any good. But that's okay. It's a different way of approaching life. As somebody who I live with pain, I was told that, there's nothing we can offer you from medicine. That was a long time ago and nothing's changed. So we don't have any better treatments for fibromyalgia now than we did back in the mid-80s. And yet I live a really full life. I don't stop doing stuff. I kind of organise my life in a way that means I do what's important to me. Wouldn't it be cool to have us as people who live with pain as experts in helping clinicians understand what what's worked for us so that we can become team collaborators. Just a different role.
It actually leads to my third question. Yet again, in a sense, my question was over your career, what have you found that helps people with chronic pain? And you kind of answer that, but very differently that what you'll hear online. Like what you'll hear online is very much that the person, the doctor, the clinician, the therapist will be omniscience, omnipotent in a sense. That's the old vision, I think. I say, you do this, you do that. And the patient, the client kind of is on the receiving side without the ability to talk or to be heard.
Or they're considered that they have to obey. You have to be compliant. Well,
yeah.
Bullshit.
It's
really, because actually we don't have to. There's no obligation on somebody to do what somebody else tells them to do when it's a therapeutic relationship, but it's worth a shot. And so as a clinician, I'll say, let's try this and let's see how that works well. How does that fit for you? As a person with pain, the things that have helped me and the way that I work with other people is I'm finding wiggle room. Mm-hmm. So if you imagine that that pain is like this constraint on what you want to be able to do. And for lots of us with pain, when we start to first encounter it, it starts to take up all of our life. And we become that person who, not a person with pain, but we become a pain person. And it sort of interferes with everything. And what I help people do is put more of what matters into their life. So if you love playing with your kids, let's find ways that you can do that with your pain. Let's take your pain with you. It's not going anywhere. So instead of resenting it, let's just make some room to be sore and play with kids. But we might change how we do it so that it's not going to flare your pain up to the sky, but it just makes it tolerable. And same with, if part of what really turns you on as being creative, let's have a look at what you can do that's fun and creative, and let's see how we can fit that into your life with pain. And so it's never one single solution. It could be problem solving, that we show somebody how to solve their own problems. We might work on willingness to experience pain if it's worth it. So can you be okay to be sore? Like if you're a fitness nut and you're pushing yourself for a goal, it hurts, right? But you say, oh, it's worth it because I'm going to achieve this goal. That's normal. But when we've got pain, persistent pain, we think, oh, I shouldn't be loud. But actually it is perfectly okay to push yourself to have a bit of pain if you know why you're doing it, if it's worth it. And if you make accommodations so that once you've finished whatever it was that you did, that you've got a bit of time to recover. That's normal. But we seem to think for people with pain, you shouldn't ever flare your pain up. Sometimes you don't want to flare your pain up because the impact isn't worth it. So let's pick on vacuuming the house. I loathe housework. I hate it. For me, it is not worth my while to vacuum the whole house because my pain will flare up and I don't value cleaning the house. On the other hand, if I'm in the garden and I work the whole day in the garden and it's more strenuous than vacuuming the house and it takes the whole day, that's worth it and I'll do it. And you'll find that people with pain will value different things. So when we're trying to help somebody look at ways to get on with their life, we have to look at what matters. Does it matter to you? Exercise is my least favourite thing. I don't like lycra. I don't like tatty gym shorts. I don't like going to a gym where it's sweaty and you've got all that noisy music in the background. I hate it. So, and I'm not alone. There are lots of people who just don't like exercise when it's done that way. But there are other ways that we can do it. We just don't talk about them. We don't use them as a therapeutic medium because exercise is where we've got all the evidence. So while we know that exercise is helpful, it reduces pain a little bit and it reduces disability a little bit, I wonder what would happen if we asked a person to have a variety of movement opportunities in their life. So today they might go for a walk. Tomorrow they might play ball with their dog. The next day they might go kayaking. Maybe they'll do dancing for a night. So they've got options. Maybe they'll do some yoga. And, each of those is a movement opportunity that you can fit in different ways into your life. And isn't that much more fun than going to the gym every day, unless you happen to like going to the gym? But I know that if somebody suggested that to me, I would not do it. No way, no way, no how. I just wouldn't. I'd go and do something else. And it's that, I guess what I'm trying to suggest is that for people with pain to live well with their pain, they've got to individualize the recommendations into their life, into what matters for them. And then they have to sort of grade it to their level of confidence. Like if I was going to say, I'm going to start doing some exercise, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go paddle in my kayak around Littleton Harbour. Now, if I did that, I would have a big flare up. That's a bit dumb. Let's not do that. Let's just do a little paddle and we'll go out for maybe 10, 15 minutes. So we grade the intensity and the complexity of the activity, not to get strength and cardiovascular fitness, because that's probably not changed much, but to get confident that I can do it and to fit it in and to feel okay and to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. Because otherwise people won't stick doing it. Why would you? If you hate doing it, you're not going to do it.
That's a great almost, I would not like to use the word protocol, but it's kind of like a wiser approach to how we interact with someone to create something that's meaningful enough for them to still live life and enjoy it through.
Yeah, it's a mind shift for us as clinicians. We've got into this way that this is what the research says. So our version of evidence-based healthcare is, let's look at this protocol. But I don't live, as a person, I don't live a protocol. I live a life. And my life is really different from other people. And that's why sending me to do, 3 sets of 10 exercise is just never going to work. So perhaps that's the shift that we need to think about, is principles. So what is about movement that's important? And we've always thought it's, say, it's cardiovascular fitness, or it's length and strength and range of movement, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's about confidence. Maybe it's about having lots of options to move in different ways. Maybe it's about the recognizing things that we like about movement. I love to dance to music. I love that because it keeps me going. But I couldn't do that running, because running is just hell. But somebody else might say, actually, I really love the feeling of running to music. Let me put on my death metal and run to my music, because that would be really good for me. So we've just got to listen a little bit more to the people that we're working with as clinicians, so that we respect their lifestyle, because that's their lifestyle. They're going to go back into their life, and what we think is a good life might not be their idea of a good life, which kind of violates so much of what we're trained to do when we do our training. We're told we're the experts and people are coming to us for our expertise. We might be experts, but we're not experts in that person's life. They are.
That's the beauty of how things are evolving. I think it's a lot of assumptions are being challenged, and a lot of humility, like you said, is being brought up for people to be able to face the reality that it's a conversation and a connection as well. So I really appreciate the way you phrase all of that. I'm really stoked for all your postgraduate. They probably have a great time interacting on that with you.
I work them hard, believe me. But it's been, I mean, my teaching is really important because I can treat patients, but that's me treating one person at a time or a group of people. But by helping clinicians learn, then they are going out and treating lots of people, or working with, I always call it working with people with pain, because we're not doing things unless you're a surgeon or a doctor just giving a pill. And even then, you've got to work with the person to get them to think that that's a good idea, and then to do the before and after care. You know, we can't just do stuff.
I love that. Thank you so much for today, for the time you spent with me. I would love to do that again. Like, I have a million questions. Actually, I had to contain myself in all of them. And every time I talk to you, there's another question that pops. I was like, wait. So I know I see you online and ask you a few questions after that. But if you had a parting thought for today for people, what would you like them to go see maybe on your work, or have them to think when they go? What do you think?
I think, first of all, listen to people with pain as their own experts, and then draw on the principles from your treatment. Be humble about what you can achieve, and then look at the principles and then tailor it to what this person needs and wants. They'll do.
I love it. Thank you so much, Bronnie. I'm going to stop the recording and I'll post that in just a bit. So everybody, please follow Bronnie and ask her a million questions.
It'll be good.